Well, about 1 million people are expected to be at the presidential inauguration, but there is a growing list of notables who will be noticeably absent.
And dozens of congressional lawmakers are saying no, they will not attend Friday's inaugural event.
KCAL 9 political reporter Dave Bryan shows us the politicians who've opted to abstain. Dave.
You know, and the irony here is that it wasn't John Lewis's announcement that he was boycotting that set off the stampede of others following him. It was the tweet response from President-elect Donald Trump that set it off. More than 50 Democratic Congress members will not be attending Donald Trump's inauguration ceremony on Friday, and the number is rising every day. Their boycott, led by Georgia Congressman John Lewis, has triggered new controversy across the country, with Republicans charging the Dems are grandstanding and creating deeper divisions, while many Democrats see the boycott as standing up for principle and justice.
What do you think I should do? Go to the inauguration or not?
When Hancock Park Congresswoman Karen Bass asked her constituents in a video if she should boycott the inauguration of Donald Trump, she says the response was overwhelming. Yes, 84% told her to stay home.
Some people are telling me I shouldn't just focus on Trump. I need to focus on the office of the presidency. But let me just tell you, that's a big hill to climb right now.
Bass is not alone. The latest count of Democratic Congress members who will be no-shows on Friday is over 50 now.
I do not intend to attend the upcoming inauguration.
What started last week with a handful has now exploded to include about a quarter of all House Democrats, at least 14 of them from California.
I never thought in my life that I wouldn't show up to a governor's inauguration or a mayor's inauguration or a president's inauguration. I've been to all of those, and I've done it willingly with people that I disagree with and people that I may not have voted for. But let me tell you, for the first time in my life, with a heavy heart, I find myself realizing that Donald Trump is acting in a way that he's not going to be the kind of president that is going to do good work.
Panorama City Congressman Tony Cardenas says he made his decision to boycott the Trump inauguration after Mr. Trump's tweet response to Congressman John Lewis last week.
The last shoe to drop with Donald Trump disrespecting and insulting somebody was when he said that John Lewis, a civil rights icon and a colleague of mine, a congressman, is all talk and no action.
That tweet from Donald Trump was part of a flurry of responses from the president-elect after Lewis declared Trump is not a legitimate president. And Mr. Trump told Fox News that Congressman Lewis lied when he said he never missed a presidential inauguration in 30 years because Lewis was confronted with the fact that he missed a George W. Bush inauguration.
I think for him to have grandstanded, because I think he just grandstanded John Lewis, and then he got caught in a very bad lie. So let's see what happens. As far as other people not going, that's okay, because we need seats so badly. I hope they give me their tickets. Are they going to give us their tickets, or are they going to give them to other people?
Southern California Republican strategist Arnold Steinberg says there's a big difference between participating in a boycott and endorsing a claim that Donald Trump isn't a legitimate president.
I think the Democrats are mistaking his record low approval for an incoming president as giving them license for this sort of confrontation. I think that's a miscalculation. Now, if Trump gives an inaugural speech that is confrontational, he'll play into their hands. If he gives anything that's statesmanlike, those who are boycotting are going to look like the fools.
While Mr. Steinberg was just talking about low approval ratings for Mr. Trump at this point, a new CNN ORC poll out tonight shows Trump has the lowest approval rating of the last 4 presidents when entering office, at 40%. That's less than half Barack Obama's approval rating when he entered his first term 8 years ago. Lena, back to you.